Yes, hello fellow cat lovers. Today we're talking about the fact that cats are a tool of Satan. Yes, I can imagine many people are curious to find out why people believe this is the case, and you look at these little cute furballs and imagine how these things can be such a terrible tool of Satan. And that's exactly the point. Hello! Welcome to Brainspill, the laziest show on the internet. My name is Tank, and I want you to imagine a cat for a moment. Yeah, and then imagine that same cat, except it's crawling out the depths of hell. That is the image that many people had of cats in the Middle Ages. Unlike the Egyptians, Roman and Chinese who worshipped these felines, the Middle Ages in Europe had a rather different opinion on these cats, which were pretty much only useful for getting rid of pests and vermin, with many people even believing that cats were an agent of the devil himself. Yes, those are some pretty bold claims to make, particularly when, cats don't do that much harm to people, but then you always have that one cat that's an absolute dick, and then it makes you wonder whether that theory is actually true, because there's been many times that makes me wonder whether this is actually a thing. Basically, someone just really hated cats. The cat gained this notorious reputation from the efforts of the medieval church, which encouraged the association of the cat with the devil and darkness as part of their long-standing agenda on demonizing pagan belief values. Of course it is. That's the reason why. Religious bigots have often employed the cunning device of converting other people's heroes into villains to suit their own purposes. In this way, the ancient horned god that protected earlier cultures was first transformed into the evil devil of Christianity, and the revered sacred feline of ancient Egypt became the wicked sorceress cat of medieval Europe. So yeah, basically cats were public enemy number one. Cats, driven out due to being bad luck, denounced by popes and holy men, with cats being the true nature of evil. Like I said earlier, many people believe that the true and only purpose of a cat was to catch mice and vermin to protect vital food resources. But the problem is that medieval writers would even find ways to demonize cats further by claiming that every time a cat catches a mouse, that is a devil catching a soul. Jeez, can't even appreciate a cat for its efforts now. Whilst many people in the West disliked cats, the Scottish in the Middle Ages, or so much around specifically the 16th century, had a rather nasty tradition called Taghairium. This was the act of animal sacrifice or torture as a form of spiritual divination. Ugh, yeah, pretty nasty. The video's demonetized now. So, you might be wondering why people thought this was even a good idea or what even the purpose behind it was. And whilst I can tell you what the reason is, it's not going to change anything because it was a ridiculous thing to do. This, of course, is just for historical purposes. Nobody should actually be doing this. So what they would do is they would get the cat and they would put it over a spit roast. And when the animal is in pain, the belief was that the devil would come and plead the people to stop torturing the cat. And in return for doing it, they would bargain with that devil in order to fulfill a certain request, which was barbaric and ridiculous, and anybody that actually believed that was true was a fucking idiot. So there we are. Those poor catos. The cat hating goes back even further to around the year 1180, in which writer Walter Map explained in one of his works that during satanic rituals, the devil descends as a black cat before his devotees, and that cat was to be worshipped as part of dark rites. Pope Innocent VII declaring in 1484 that the cat was the devil's favourite animal and idol of all witches, due to the belief that the witches could shapeshift into animals, such as cats. It must have been so easy to accuse someone of a crime just by declaring they're a witch, and you can just pull all these random things together and then get away with it, because that was the world back then. Absolutely world gone mad. Historian Dr. Irina Metzler has provided her own thoughts on possibly why people thought this way. I mean, it's a pretty far stretch to believe that cats were a tool of the devil, but perhaps there was some logic behind this, even if it's very, very illogical on the surface. Medieval people believed that animals were created by God to serve humans, so if you have an animal that simply does what it wants in comparison, then people would probably instantly think that without having this external influence, it must be something like, who knows, a demon or something. Medieval people may have wanted to restrict cats to the function of animated mousetraps. For the very reason that the cat stands at the threshold between the familiar and the wild, cats were intruders into human society. They could not be owned. They entered the house by stealth, like mice, and were suffered because they kept the insufferable mice in cheek. While the cat possesses the characteristics of a good hunter, it is useful, but as long as it does, it remains incompletely domesticated. This probably isn't the be-all and end-all as to why these are the reasons that people hated cats, but it may go some way in trying to actually find out the true reason that people believed this, trying to apply some logic to something where it shouldn't be compatible to apply logic to. I mean, look how cute they are. You can't call that a demon. Okay, well, maybe you can in some cases, but you know what? Most of the time, they are just cute, fluffy pets. So yes, whilst this was a thing, I'm very glad that people don't think like this anymore, and that, these are our furry pals, and that they're domesticated, and also that we have animal welfare rights and laws, all the stuff that we really should have had when they were burning cats at the stake, not even a couple of 100 years ago. Also, just for the record, I'm a dog person, so take that as you will. And yeah, that is why people believed, for some time at least, that cats were a tool of Satan. I'll see you guys in the next video. Fantastic.